Scarborough from TigerBait.com is our guest. My man, the myth, the legend, the man that goes around all high schools in Louisiana. He's here. He's going to break down some recruiting for us. Mike, what's going on, my friend?
Nut, man, I'm back on the sofa where I started doing my show a little over a year ago, and now, of course, I got the studio upstairs. But yeah, it's back on the sofa for you tonight.
It's okay. We're just gonna sit here. We're gonna sit here and talk a little sports. It's all good. I like the sofa. I like the pictures. I like the paintings. It's all good. Mike, you posted something today. I'm really interested in. We talked about it, but you went to Woodlawn this past week. You saw guys like Ricky Collins and others. When you saw him, what did you like about him? And is he a guy that when he gets to a camp this summer, is he going to explode? Do you have that vibe from him?
I do. He went to the Elite 11 in Houston and performed very well. And I've just thought all along that he has a lot of tools that he can be a major quarterback in a Power 5 conference. He started to get some offers, but I think there's more coming. I think he's going to be like a lot of kids in the month of June. They're going to be visiting all over the place, trying to hit as many camps and junior days as they can. But I think it's vital for Ricky to actually work out at camps. And their first day of practice at Woodlawn Saturday morning, I thought I would get there and they'd be in shorts and shells and helmets, maybe not even shoulder pads and starting off light. No, they were full pads. They were hitting. They weren't going to the ground, but they were hitting out there, and they were doing situational work. They did some 7-on-7, and but he was missing a half a dozen or 7 players, including Jordan Matthews, a top athlete for the next year. That I'll have a story on Tiger Bait tomorrow, an interview with him. He's involved in track, but and of course his dad Rashawn played at LSU at a Christian Life late '90s. So I think the sky's the limit for Ricky, and of course 23 is a deep year quarterback in the state of Louisiana. Look, you got Arch Manning, and of course you got the kid up at Zachary, Eli Holstein. And then a lot of people are wanting to watch Reese Mooney at Denham Springs. He's going to be someone. So I really want to see what kind of quarterback group they have at one of the camps at LSU. I always talk about that camp 2 years ago where it was I've never seen a conglomeration of quarterbacks ever at an LSU camp like they had 2 summers ago. And so we're going to see if they're going to do that again. There she is. I see Shannon on the screen. Hello, Shannon.
Yeah, she says, "Hey, Mike Scarborough, we do have some comments for you and some questions." Austin Thibodeau, just to fire a couple off really quickly, says, #Ask Mike, update on Efton Reed and any other basketball targets for this class.
I don't have an update, but I hope to talk to the man tonight to see if I can get an update. Early last week, I was told it was 50-50, LSU and Florida State. I don't know if that's changed. And the thought was that one day they felt good about it, and the next day maybe they thought they were a little behind. It could go either way. But that was early last week. I don't know if anything's changed, if there's a third school in the mix now. When he's going to make the decision, I don't know.
Well, Wade's he's doing big things in the transfer portal, Mike. I think he there's a really good chance. Look, this has come up. The question's come up multiple times here, Mike, in reference to I missed it. Where is it? Vic's talking about Major Burns, a guy from the state of Louisiana who's now in the transfer portal, Donovan Kaufman, who might be, some people I think he might even be in the portal. 2 Louisiana kids. Is LSU looking, and I know that we've talked about this before, LSU might be looking, and you've been prominent about this, LSU looking in the portal possibly for a safety. Is Major Burns just too good of a fit for LSU where they pull that last scholarship and spot for a guy like Major Burns?
I don't know if they would do that. I don't know what Major Burns' outlook is on LSU after the way they severed ties, and, of course, he ended up at Georgia. Then there's also the tricky situation where you've got several safeties coming in June, and what are they going to think? Because Major is going to have a lot of eligibility left. He gets a free year. He gets free transfer. And then what does that do to other defensive backs for the class of 22? Does that upset the apple cart? Usually if you're going to use that one spot you have left, you're going to use it in a position of need. So I'm not sure how that's going to fit, but it just so happened he enters the transfer portal, and I went to Madison Prep yesterday afternoon. So I'm out on the practice fields, and I'm asking the coach. He says, "Well, it's funny you asked that. I just got off the phone with him, and but he thought maybe Kentucky because that's where Joel Williams is at, his former teammate. If you remember, Major at one time was also committed to Texas A&M, right, before LSU offered him. Might they be a possibility for him? So I haven't chased the story today. I've been loading video and editing video all day long. I was at U High Friday and got Austin and Jaden Alsbury video up on the site and interviews. Saturday morning, of course, Ricky Collins and Matthews. And yesterday, Quincy Wiggins. Wait till y'all see what he looks like working out. I'm going to roll that out first thing in the morning. Of course, Madison Prep, 6'6", 270 pounds.
Mike, is he climbing up your board? I mean, is he in the top 5 at this point?
He's not. But I'll tell you this, he's very, very raw. When you start looking at the class of 22 in the state of Louisiana, and you start saying which prospect has the biggest untapped ceiling, a guy that's just going to, he hasn't plateaued. He's not as good as he's going to be right now or a year from now. I think this kid's going to get better and better each year as he goes on. And by the time he's 21 years old, it could be staggering how good he is. He's got a great work ethic. I'll tell you one thing about Madison Prep yesterday. I mean, I go all over. I don't see anybody out working Madison Prep. I watched those guys work out all afternoon yesterday. 90-degree heat, but I mean, it's hot. 90 degrees is hot. And after they did a 2-hour workout, which was mostly cardio, they didn't have their helmets because they're waiting for those to come back from the factory for refurb. I didn't even know that whole. Did you know that you have to send them off for recertification every year?
Yeah, I did.
I had no idea. That's a racket, man.
If you remember the concussion protocols that a lot of these schools went through and the CTE stuff, I mean, that's been a big thing for. And look, Rydell, I remember, would do a big thing where they would, if your helmet was defected, they would send you like 6 or 7 more, and it was a big deal for like these poor high schools and stuff like that. I remember that maybe being like, this isn't something that has been going on for a while. This is something that's been going on for maybe 2 or 3 years.
No, but it's a racket, dude. It's on the scale of when they're telling me how it works. It reminds me of when you're in college and you're buying all your books, and then you pay $150 for a textbook, and then you go back and at the end of the semester and sell them, and they give you $20, and then the next day it's listed for $90 on the shelf. So they have to send in their helmets and get them recertified once every year, and they charge them $100 to recertify them. The new helmet was what, $300+? It's a racket. I mean, and you can't. I would love to know the machines they put them on to check tolerances and what the measurements are. I bet you there's no difference. What it does do is it makes them more money, and it helps them with liability insurance.
Absolutely. We've had a couple questions in here for you, Mike, which is a little interesting about Eric Gilbert. Eric on YouTube says, is there any word that you've heard on Eric Gilbert?
That's a broken record. I mean, we get asked about it every week. I mean,
every week.
Yeah. And it's one of those deals too, where it's like, if you were to get something from where I'm sitting, what, if you got anything, what could you divulge? It's exactly. I mean, it's between, the stuff that he's got to deal with personally, and then the academic portion of it is, can get you in hot water. And who shared it with you, So, but I will say this, just like I haven't changed since December. I think his best route to being a top prospect and getting everything squared away where he needs to be is at LSU.
Mike, this was a part that I brought up yesterday, and I want to get your take on it. I talked about yesterday about Alabama and how they're convincing kids to do blue shirts and gray shirts and going above the 25 limit in the SEC. Is it really that difficult? Because we see them do it so easily. They're about to add another recruit and have their 28th commit from this past class. Is it really that difficult for other teams to do that, or does Alabama just have a way of convincing kids because of how – I mean, look, let's just call it what it is. Of the 5-6 national titles that Saban has, Is it just easier for a guy like that to be able to pull something like that off?
I imagine it is easier for him because he's able to just, when he talks, he's like E.F. Hutton. I mean, they listen. And I think, I haven't studied who they are, the players you're talking about. I don't know if they're legacies, are they from Gadsden, Alabama, but there's no doubt that he's absolutely able to say, look, because of your position and the depth we have there, this isn't going to set you back at all. And I imagine the kids and their families buy into everything, every word he says.
I agree, and it's just something that a lot of people bring up in the here asking me about it, and honestly, I don't have an answer for it. I mean, they're about to have 28 guys signed for this past class, and then they're going well and above the 25 scholarship limit or threshold, and people keep asking, but no one really knows why. And I just thought that it would be something interesting to look into.
I'm going to be real curious when all the dust settles on the one-time transfers, and once you get through the period of time where there's, the COVID-free years over with, there's people that I've talked to that say what's going to happen now with essentially this being like free agency in college football is that it's actually going to hurt high school kids, because there's going to be programs that say, why do I take the risk on a high school kid that maybe needs more maturity when I can go get a player who's been in somebody's system for a year, maybe 2 years, and I'm pretty confident that I've got a guy who can be of immediate help and who I don't have to bring along at a slower pace. And then in that case, that's where if a kid has his heart set on a particular school, then I think you're going to see a lot more schools looking to gray shirt and blue shirt, and kids are going to be more open to it, because I think with the one-time transfer rule, it is going to hurt high school kids because it's sooner or later once you get through the COVID part of it, and you're having to adhere to the 85 limit, that's going to come into play.
Mike, do you think that there's two questions here kind of back to back, but one really quickly? Do you think that they should expand the 85 scholarship limit? I mean, I don't get that. I mean, why are you limiting them to 85 scholarships? I don't know. But do you think that they should expand that more to maybe like 90, 95, 100?
Well, if you do that, football's always had an exemption when it comes to Title IX. If you expand that, because football is a sport that requires so many position players and depth, it's been exempt from Title IX. You start trying to go to 95 or 100 and 105, does that all of a sudden reopen that box again where, you're having to add box hockey and whatever else, women's lacrosse, whatever it might be.
We can be like Forrest Gump with the ping pong paddle, man. We can have a ping pong team. You said that the transfer portal could hurt high school kids, but one thing that's going to really help him is getting into the camps. Guys getting on LSU's campus, you especially being able to go and see these kids. Do you think that this summer, and I know for someone like you, that you're going to be probably the busiest man this summer and tracking these kids and what they're doing. When you go to these LSU camps and these kids going there, how big, tell the listeners, how big is it for LSU to be able to see these kids one-on-one?
Yeah, it is, because, you're basically, they have not seen these kids for almost 2 years now.
Right.
And so just think of a kid that was, or they've never seen them. If they're, so maybe they saw a kid and he was 5'11", 160 as a ninth grader. Now he's an 11th grader and he's 6'3", 210. But I think the bigger part of it is you can watch all the huddle film. You can watch all the Twitter workout stuff that's posted up there. To be able to them get their hands on these kids, work with them, talk to them, see if the kid, what's his body language, whether he's looking in the eye when he's talking to you, how does he take to coaching, you moving him around, putting him in position in drills, all that stuff. What kind of stamina does he have? I mean, all those films that they're putting up on Twitter is their best of the best. Their very best reps, their highlight tapes on Huddle. And look, they do a damn good job of reaching out to Axios not Axios, Exos, and they pay big money to have access to all that film, and asking TV stations and watching the Cox game of the week, just like everybody else. And then you got VSN out there that's been great the last few years. Eric Reachday and those guys. I mean, the coaching staffs are using all that to their benefit and getting game film that way. But still, I also think, one thing that I want to see is, are we going to see the college coaches out in more numbers in a bigger way in the fall once the season starts than we have in previous years?
Right.
Because it's one thing to have them in camp, but the one thing that I've been astonished by in recent years is how little college coaches, even LSU coaches, how little they actually go to high school games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to ask that question. I want to find out what their reasoning is. But I think part of the reason why is if they go to one recruit's game and they don't go to another's, that kid knows about it because everybody's following recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And kids get their feelings hurt. So they choose to just get film.
Great. That's just so weird, that happens.
No, because only so many of them can be out on a Friday night.
Right.
You can't send your whole staff and then player personnel guys. So if you're going to get the guys your main commitments, and then there's a guy you're recruiting, but you're across town somebody else, and they're viewing that as you thinking they're not a priority to you.
Well, Mike, you bring up an interesting point. A couple more questions will get you out of here. Do you remember in 2019 during the bye week when Ed Orgeron went to like 13 different high school games? Like he was flying in a helicopter to different places.
Yeah.
And I remember him even saying that, well, look, I got to go to all these different places. We got to recruit and kiss, shake hands and kiss babies. And that, I think you're right there. I mean, he was flying to Alabama. You remember when he met with Tua Tagovailoa at his brother's game. I mean, there were so many different things that we can talk about. It's
stuff like that, though, that backfires on you.
Right.
Remember that?
I do.
That backfired on him.
It did.
There was a stretch there where they were leaking information of where the in-home visits were. And it's like, that could upset other kids. Like, well, the official home visits started, and he hadn't gotten to me yet. He hadn't scheduled me yet. I see where he's going the first night and where he's going the first week, who all he's visiting. And so all of a sudden you started to see where that information became less and less. Unless the kids shared it and posted, in-home, pictures with Ed Orgeron and Mickey Joseph, whoever, and around the kitchen table, that a lot of that information kind of went away because it could backfire on you.
Yeah, and I remember, man, everybody's trying to track Ed Orgeron, where he's at, where he's going, and it backfires on you. You're right. Mike, I don't want to put you on this last question I want to ask you. I don't want to put you in a bad spot here, so please deflect the question if you must. The 2017 recruiting class, the kids in the top 10 on multiple services, only one of them got drafted in the top 6 rounds of this past class. It's something that we've kind of noticed over the last, I want to say 7 years, that kids that are in the top 25 that are 5 stars are not getting drafted within the first 4 rounds. Later, they're either the 5th, 6th, 7th, or going undrafted. I don't think that there's a problem with people visibly like seeing these kids work out and going. I think these guys are really talented. But why do you think it's less and less kids that are prominent 5 stars not getting recruited? I get injuries and stuff like that. Do you think that there's a huge gap in the I don't want to say just really analysis of these kids, but it keeps going on more and more. There's more 3-star kids getting drafted at this pace than we've ever seen. When I say all this, tell me what do you think about that?
How's my audio? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, Buddy Saunders just tried to call and it messed up my audio, me hearing you. So
he tried to call me too. That's why my camera went blank. Buddy, stop calling.
Yeah. He's looking for somebody to talk to. No, but it's math. Think about it.
Only 32 5-stars.
Right.
Right.
So there's an opportunity for you for a recruiting network to make mistakes or those 5-stars not pan out. When you give a guy a 5-star, you're basically saying they're going to be all SEC first team and a top first round, second round draft pick. Top, they might say first round. I'm gonna say first round and a half, first or second round. But you're saying they're an all conference selection, a 3-year starter, whatever, or at least a 2-year starter, depending on their position. So I think it's just the math. You have a bigger opportunity for 254 stars, 264 stars to jump a guy who was a 5-star as a 12th grader. And then some of it depends on where the geography, where was that player at? What program is he in? Did he have guys on Twitter constantly pumping him up? And I think this problem is going to get worse. And I've been saying it on my show for several weeks. I think, we're about to have another national network that's starting up. We're seeing the other networks having less and less people on the road. And then when they've got guys on the road, instead of having one state, they have 5 states. And so they're doing rankings based on watching huddle tape, and it's not the same.
Well, and you're right. It is numbers. It was just crazy to see the stat of the top 10 kids in 2017, only one of them getting drafted, and that was in the 6th round, like Marvin Williams, Dylan Moses. Those guys that we remember just went undrafted, and I think it's just really crazy to see stuff like that. Mike, I do have one more question. I'll get you out of here. You saw the Alsbury kids. You went to U-High, and Vic says, #ask Mike, what about Austin Alsbury and his potential? Heard he ran a 4.3. You've seen both of these kids up close and personal. What do you think about them, and how good can U-High be coming up this upcoming year?
I tell you what, Jaden is class of 23. And of course, he a lot of people believe he's the higher rated kid. But man, I watch Austin, the way he moves and the way he runs. If you go to tigerbait.com and see the video that I posted from practice on Friday, I'm watching I've got great video of him changing direction, backpedal. I love them both. They both can run. Of course, Jaden is the linebacker and great instincts. I mean, what can you say? I mean, their dad, Verge, was a great football player at LSU in the mid-'80s, and a good program at U-High. And you mentioned Dylan Moses, and I'm told his little brother's starting his first week of practice at U-High this week. So, and he's I'm told he's 6'2", 205 right now.
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter of him running, and I was like, man, God bless us, and we got to go through this again. Hopefully we don't have to. Mike, you've been great as always, man. Tell them where they can find you. We've had it on the ticker below. Go to tigerbait.com, promo code AYS30, but tell everybody what you're getting into the next couple of weeks.
That's it. The whole front page right now is loaded with recruiting content, recruiting interviews with these players. I've been out to their camps, new exclusive video. Of course, we shoot in HD. We pride ourselves on video. And tomorrow morning, y'all going to love the Quincy Wiggins video from Madison Prep. The kid is a beast. I love him. Super kid, highly intelligent. I watch him at practice, coach his teammates. So go to tigerbait.com, use promo code AYS30, and that's going to give you Tiger Bait for $1 for a month. Can't beat it.
Awesome, Mike stuff. We appreciate you. Awesome stuff, Mike. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend. Have a good night.
All right, man. Thanks, Blake. Talk soon.
That is